Hey guys, welcome back. This week I'm going to talk the second of the sort of getting into clay shooting series. I'm going to talk a little bit about your first time at the playground. You might get dragged down by a mate, you might just turn up on spec, you might have spoken to your local club and arranged to come down for your first time. And a lot of people I see who are very clearly first timers, the thing that kind of gets in their way is they just don't know what they're doing. And I think that we can help you there to maybe figure out what you need to do before you go, and also once you're there, to make your time a bit more enjoyable and make you feel a bit less awkward. First thing to think about is what you're wearing. There are obviously you're going to be standing in a field for a couple of hours. You need to be appropriately dressed. No idea how many people I see turn up at playgrounds in jeans, t-shirt, and a pair of like fabric trainers, like Converse or whatever, and they're just going to get their day ruined by having freezing cold feet, especially at this time of year. So think about appropriate footwear. I'm wearing hiking boots today because it's bloody freezing. Jeans. This coat is windproof because it's freezing again. A hat of some description. Hats are actually important and often encouraged at playgrounds because clays hurt. If you get one on the top of the nut, it can ruin your day. But hat is just enough protection. It's all you need, and it protects the front of your face. Other than that, I mean, I've got gloves on because it's cold. Other than that, you don't need anything. Other stuff will be provided by the club. As far as safety equipment goes, there is some stuff that's non-negotiable, okay? Eye protection, you don't have to have Gucci gear like I've got. It can be dead simple. A pair of glasses, like distance glasses, are fine. Sunglasses, fine. And if you don't need or require either of those, the club should be able to provide you with a pair of basic safety specs. You must wear these. Getting a clay shard in your eye or whatever can absolutely ruin, well, your vision, to be honest. You only get two of these and you've got to look after them. Ear protection is the other one. Most of the time the club will provide you with just those foam plugs. They're disposable, they're free, but a set of muffs, they don't have to be, again, electronic ones like these. A set of basic over-the-ear muffs are like 10 or 15 quid if you want to buy your own and you don't want somebody else's head grease on you or whatever. But non-negotiable. Eye and ear protection must be worn at all times when you're in a playground. Your vision and your hearing, you really only get one shot at it and you've got to protect it. That's about all I've got to say on that sort of subject. Like I said, you can spend fortunes on it, but for your basic first time out, all you need is the basic gear. All right, let's talk about safety. I appreciate it maybe considered to be a boring subject, but shooting is at the end of the day a sport where we are wielding guns, and guns are inherently dangerous. Okay, you must be aware and have respect for this as a tool that can kill. Right, it's not a joke. We have rigid safety rules that we all must adhere to. It'll become second nature over time, but I'm hopefully just going to give you the very basic stuff that you will get in a safety briefing the first time you go to a ground anyway. All right, rule number one is always that all guns are loaded unless you... all guns are loaded all the time. I'll do that again. Rule number one, all guns are loaded, okay? We're very lucky with clay shooting, and especially with over and unders, in that there is a very easy way to determine when a gun is safe, both mechanically and visually. It's broken, all right? And the reason we want to keep it broken at all times when you are not inside the cage is so that everyone can see the chambers are empty and it is no danger, okay? Mechanically, it is incapable of firing at this point, and you treat it as loaded when it's closed, okay? When you're getting a gun out of a slip, the best way to do it, I don't actually bring a slip today, unfortunately, I do apologise, but when you withdraw the gun from the slip, if it's closed, take it out to a certain point so you can get hold of it, and then open it so that you can see it's open, and then take it the rest of the way out the slip. Similarly, when you put it back in the slip, put the front half in, you can see it's empty, close the gun, rest of the way in, close the slip. Fundamentally, you should never have a closed gun outside of that cage. You must never put cartridges in a gun when you're outside of the cage. The reason that we have cages like this is to provide you with essentially a safe field of fire. Once you're inside the cage, your barrels can't swing past a certain arc unless you lean out of the cage, which you should, of course, never do. But while you're in there, you should only be looking at an area that it is safe to shoot in. If you see anything out there that you find dodgy or you think is dangerous, it's your responsibility to say something. It's not anybody else's. Everybody is responsible for safety in shooting. If you see anything out there, you must say something. Stop shooting. It may be that they say, oh yeah, don't worry about that, that's a scarecrow. But that's fine, carry on. But you won't be upbraided by anyone for trying to be safe. Muzzle discipline, of course, immediately follows from that. You must never point a gun at anything you are not willing to destroy. Humans, animals, buildings, doesn't matter. Safe field of fire is there to make sure that doesn't happen. And equally, when you're outside of the cage, if you happen to be taking a closed gun out, never muzzle anything or anyone that you are not willing to destroy. This is key. Another one is trigger discipline. Ideally, your finger should be outside the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot. Now, people take this a little bit too far and they'll actually call for a bird before they've put their finger on the trigger, sort of thing. It's fine. Once you're in here, in my opinion, you are ready to shoot. You've got the gun mounted. You're ready to go. You can put your finger on the trigger. But prior to that, you really shouldn't. Safeties, you should never be reliant upon a safety at a shooting ground. It's just one of those things. If you're a game shooter, it's a totally different ball game. But at a shooting ground, I don't think I've ever used my safety. I would never rely on my safety as being a safe. I just would never close the gun with cartridges in it unless I was ready to shoot, in which case I don't need the safety. It's a different discipline if you're doing game shooting. It's a different ball game entirely. There's no cages, there's no fields of fire. You just have to be very self-aware and be very safety aware. Let's talk a little bit more about once you're in the cage. Okay, so we're actually ready to start shooting. We have stepped into the cage. We are now safe. Okay, once the barrels are through the sort of shooting aperture at the front of the cage, I have a safe field of fire. Okay, my empty gun, by the way. I can't swing past an area that is going to put anything in danger. As I said, it's up to you. If you see something, be safe, say something, all right? But once we're in here, we are now safe to load the gun. Loading the gun, dead simple. And a bit of a tip for new shooters. A lot of you, when you turn up, you're not wearing appropriate sort of clay shooting clothing. You can't carry 50 cartridges on you. You end up with them either in the box on the floor or spilling out of a coat pocket or in a loader's bag or whatever. The best thing to do is actually just to bring as many into the cage with you as you actually need. You can fit 10 cartridges into a jeans pocket or whatever. That means that you've got as much as you need. If you need a couple of spares, you can ask a mate to pass you on whatever. But basically, it's much easier to grab cartridges out of a pocket than it is to be waving your gun around while you're getting cartridges off the floor. It means you shoot a little bit quicker and you feel like less of a tatey. All right, so we're ready to load the gun, at which point we come across the first thing that is liable to cause a bit of debate, which is closing the gun. Game shooters will always tell you to point the gun at the ground in front of you when you close it gently but firmly, but maintain control of your barrels pointing it at the ground, which is fine for game shooting because in game shooting there's no cages, there's no fields of fire, and that's a safe direction. But if you do that at a playground where you're standing on a concrete pad and you accidentally discharge the gun into concrete a foot away from you, you're not going to make any mates. So, once you're in a cage, in theory, your field of fire is safe, and it is therefore safe to close the gun, pointing in a safe direction, all right? So, we're going to close the gun gently but firmly, not swinging the barrels closed, until the top lever operates. I'm not worried about what I'm pointing at because I'm in a cage, I know my field of fire is safe, and this is a clay shooting thing. I'll get some battering from game shooters, but it is what it is. My trigger discipline is fine, my gun is now ready to shoot. So, there are no targets. I'm just going to shoot 2 rounds so that I can then show you how to empty the gun properly. Alright, so we've finished shooting. We're now going to open the gun and get rid of our cartridges. There are many, many ways to do this wrongly, and a few ways to do it right. And the best way to do it is to keep control of the gun and get rid of your rubbish at the same time. So, trap the butt under this elbow, right? Left or right-handed, doesn't matter. This elbow against your body. Operate the top lever with your dominant hand, thumb, keeping control of your barrels. Once you've operated it, you can now start to open the barrels. This hand is free to catch your empties. Open the gun, catch your empties, straight in the bin. All right? Many ways not to do it. Primarily, that one. Opening the gun and just letting them shoot over your shoulder. Littering, No, it's just littering, right? You can say, oh, the ground staff, I get paid to pick them up, I'm not bothered. It's littering, right? Don't do it. You see a lot of people opening the gun and then doing that, so they're trapping the cartridges against their body. That's fine, you're just going to get your top dirty. But the one, my personal favourite not to do, is this one. All right? You see a lot of people doing it still. They'll turn the gun around and dump and fire the cartridges straight into the bin. The problem with that is, I might have only found one cartridge, and if I do that, I've just muzzled half the ground, all right? I've got an open gun, and I've literally just muzzled, outside of the safe zone, this fire arc, half the ground that I can't see. I've got no control over my barrels. It's bad juju, and in my opinion, you shouldn't do it. Trap against your body, operate the top lever, catch, bin. Dead easy. All right, so hopefully I've whittled down enough there about some of your initial sort of safety concerns, equipment, and some really, really basic gun handling stuff that I think will very much help you to feel less awkward your first time out. The next time I'm going to talk a little bit about some very, very basic tips that I see in new shooters that I think, again, will just make you shoot better and hopefully help you out, especially when it comes to like gun fit and actually hitting some targets, because hitting targets is way more fun than missing them. All right, guys, the show, as ever, is Guys, as ever, the show is supported by Bible Shooting Ground, Hull Cartridge and Mac White Gloves. I'd very much appreciate it if you would like and subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Subscribing to the show is mega, mega important to me. I really want to make the 10,000 subs by Christmas, as it really, really helps. YouTube doesn't really pay attention to channels until they've got 10k subs or more, and it would be a big boost to me in terms of being able to make the show. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be doing further Q&As. And if you want to ask me sort of questions or berate me or just have a bit of crack, give us a shout. Comment below if you have anything you want to talk about. Guys, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.